Hello, everybody. I'm Mike Shredder. This is Shred Stakes. I'm here with Brad McCabe, who I formerly played in the same AAU program with at Jersey Force. It's been a while since I've seen Brad, but he played at St. Francis in PA. He's playing now at Lynn University down in Florida. So, obviously he's had experience playing at the D1 and now at the D2 level of both, competitive programs. And he's a very good basketball player, had a great career at Manasquan, where he scored over almost 1,300 points at Manasquan, and he started 21 games last year. So, Brad, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast, and I appreciate you taking some time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Mike.
Absolutely. So let's get the first question, which is what I kind of ask a lot of my guests, is where your passion for basketball developed.
I can look back to around second grade. My father got me a basketball hoop in the backyard, and we went from there. Just started going to the backyard, and I was obsessed with shooting the ball. Um, and it took me a while to actually develop a shot for a couple of years. But basically, I started my career with the Central Jersey Hawks. So I played in the AAU Nationals down in North Carolina for fourth grade, and it just kind of took off. Um, and then Central Jersey Hawks turned into Team Rio, which developed, and then Jersey Force and short shots were around. And I eventually fell into the Jersey Force program, with Joe Stein, and the Stein family's great with Andrew, Big Joe, and OG. So they really have a really good hearts and have a lot of good connections within the basketball world and the AAU world. So going through Jersey Force, kind of my recruiting took off. I got recruited by a lot of the Patriot League, and then the Division One team didn't come forward with an offer. And my dream was to always play Division One. That's how I ended up at St. Francis by just going there with Josh, and I'll get into that.
Yeah, so actually that's a great segue. So talk a little bit about just kind of the decision to go there. And you mentioned Josh Cohen, who's now taking his grad year at UMass, which is right by where I went to school. Just talk a little bit about kind of the decision to play with him. You guys both had good careers at St. Francis. He obviously was 20-point game scorer. You did a lot. Again, you were a great shooter, and you had a really good senior year, and also you had some good production in your junior year as well, based on just kind of the statistics I was reading. So talk a little bit about just kind of playing with somebody that you grew up playing basketball with, and kind of just that appeal of playing in college with a guy that you're comfortable having a basketball background with.
Right. So going back to Jersey Force, Josh Cohen and we battled head to head. Like we were both very good players in the short. He was he had his own program with his dad, and I was with Force, and he eventually slid over to Jersey Force and walked into the gym one day. I'll never forget. And I was like, I think I'm going to leave this team because me and him had so much, like, I don't want to say hate, but we were just like very competitive. And I was like, how am I going to play with him on the same team? So it was very interesting how this all developed. So we actually became really close after like just bumping heads before we actually knew each other. So after he got recruited by FDU and St. Francis and a few other schools across the Northeast, I got recruited by a bunch of D2s as well, and he committed to St. Francis. And I wasn't really fond of the school that recruited me, and I feel like I wouldn't be happy there. So Josh went out to the coaches at St. Francis and said, like, we have McCabe, like, to really shoot it, like, I think he could really help us. But actually, Coach Helen at St. Francis was watching all of our games, so he actually knew the way I played and everything about me, basically. So it was just about pulling the trigger on going to St. Francis and walking on, and Josh being a scholarship player, and eventually working my way up to a scholarship position and starting my senior year.
Yeah, so talk a little bit about, again, you played with talented guys your kind of entire career. Look, playing down in the Jersey Shore, I can say from personal experience, you play against a lot of good competition, especially when you played, right? You played against Rainey, who had a lot of really good players. You play against Mater Dei, who had a lot of really talented players then too. Obviously, Manasquan, right? You guys kind of spearheaded a lot of that, but you think about even later on with like the emergence of a guy like Ben Roy down there, right? But you guys were obviously fantastic when you were there. But talk a little bit about just kind of maintaining that like what kind of drove you to maintain success when you're going against those competitive guys? Because for some people, right, they either rise to that occasion and embrace that, or they don't quite get to that level that they want because maybe that's just it's too much for them. Like, how did you kind of stay like I can compete at this level, I can get a scholarship at St. Francis? Like, how did that experience at Manasquan play over to that, if at all?
Yeah, the competition, especially my senior year, was legit. With Scotty Lewis and Brian Antoine, they had a loaded team. They're number one in the state. Even Red Bay Catholic was good. Like the whole league was very competitive, and I think that year we were 29-4. We had a solid team with Ben Royce, a freshman, who's now at BU up in Boston. Um, we just really focused and just really um, had an edge for the defensive end. Um, and that's what led us to beat CVA, which Josh played for in the semifinals, to go against Randy. So there were a lot of jokes going around like, "Oh, Manasquan's playing Randy. They're number one in the state. Like they're like, we're two in the shore. They're one in the shore. Like, but they're so much better. They're nationally ranked." And I told a bunch of people like, like don't come into the game if you think we're gonna lose. Like I remember that vividly, like to like about 3 or 4 people. And I was like, just get ready for the show. Monmouth University was sold out, 5,000 people. And I was really just locked in. And that was probably the most locked in I've ever been in my life. Probably the biggest crowd I've played in front of, even in college, if not one of them. And I think we just had an edge. We had guys who just wanted to win. And just, that also came with Bill. He was a very old school coach, um, just very tough and really hard on guys, which made us a winning program. Matt Swan still is been a winning and very well known program in the shore for a long time. So I feel like that helped as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, just to put it in context, he just kind of glossed over the fact that you did score 33 points against Franny in that game. But, we can gloss over that. That's okay. But, just kind of getting from the point I was trying to get at a little bit is, a lot of times that drives an edge to when you compete at different levels to, be like, okay, look, like I worked hard. I come from a program where, you grind it out, you play team first basketball, you play defensively, but you work on your skill set over time. And I know there's a lot of really good trainers down in that Jersey Shore area. But talk a little bit about just when you got to St. Francis, right? And you're told initially, okay, look, we're bringing you in as a walk-on, but then you get to be a scholarship player to starting games for them, a good amount of games, 21 games your senior year before you obviously are now at Lynn. Talk a little bit about just kind of the mindset and like what did you do in college that allowed you to get to that success? Because going from like, there's the story of that guy, Luke Hancock from Louisville, went from a walk-on to, an all ACC player. Like you kind of had, in a sense, like you went from a walk-on to, a key contributing member of a Division I team that's competitive, right? So talk a little bit about like, what was your mindset and what did you do to keep yourself confident in yourself and in your game? Because that's not easy to do.
Yeah, definitely went through a lot of adversity. Um, I was not promised anything. I'll never forget stepping in that door in Coach Gribble's office my first time and said that I'm talented enough, but I need to develop. Which also led to me going up there and redshirting because I needed another year to get stronger and just prepare myself for the college game more, um, which helped me a lot. But I think just competing against those guys coming out of high school um, and just having an edge and just putting in the work, getting extra shots up, going to lift. Like I always envisioned me starting and playing for them and contributing. And I think just one day it will just all fall in if you put in the work. Um, but Coach Helen, who's the head assistant at St. Francis, told me I'm one of 3 players in his 30 years of coaching that has walked on and earned a scholarship. So it's definitely not common. I don't want to say I got lucky because busted my ass for it. But what also did help is COVID. When COVID came around, I got tested positive 4 times. And one time I had COVID. So I missed about 8 weeks of basketball. My my sophomore junior when COVID, 2020. And I was being told I'm going to get real minutes against Cornell while I was still a walk on. Meanwhile, before we left. COVID test positive, didn't really have COVID. Before you know it, I'm sitting in the middle of PA when they're going to play Cornell for 2 weeks and I can't touch a ball. So there were just a lot of things that delayed me. But I just kept going and kept pushing, kept communicating on the floor, just trying to be the best version of myself. And it just all just was success from there, which led me down to Lynn.
Yeah, I think that's just like it's interesting because like I just ended my college career, a month ago, not a month ago, a while ago. And I think that a lot of times when you're going through those adversities, right, like it can take a toll on you. But I think what was for you, what was the biggest challenge from a basketball standpoint of playing Division I basketball? Because again, I know you played against good competition, you articulated that well. But I know for me, a lot of it was just like speed and strength. And I played Division III basketball, right? So it's a little different than D1. Like, what was kind of the adjustment for you going into that atmosphere? And how did you have to adjust your game in order to, be able to get the success that you just talked about?
I think a lot of it was just knowledge and just having an IQ. Um, you have to remember tons of plays, especially I played the three my junior year and the four my senior year, and most of the plays were the same. So you got to remember both positions, just like down here Lemon playing the guard and the forward spot. So just knowing where you're supposed to be is really key to being successful on the floor. Um, and guys are really strong and athletic. So, you know, I really built my body the last couple of years to actually, you know, bump around some dudes because they're strong and they're athletic. But yeah, I really think the biggest part is just knowing where to be on the floor, and because there's a lot that goes into college basketball. Like you have to learn to play in the system. I think there's two different things. Like you can either hoop, you're a hooper, or you can play in a system, or you might have both. But if you're just a hooper and you don't really know how to play in the system, it's going to be really tough for you to play in college because a lot of coaches are, improvising sets and all the above of that. So I think that's the most important thing.
Let's talk now about your present basketball situation, which is down at Lynn University in Florida. A little jealous of the weather situation, definitely down in Florida compared to up here in New York where I'm at school. But talk a little bit about just the transition, wanting to go there for your grad year, and the excitement for playing in arguably the best, if not the best, D2 conference in the country, where you're going to be competing against high-level players every night that you step on the court.
So St. Francis was a blessing for me for my 4 years, but I just felt like it was time for me to move on. The staff over there, I love the people, but I just think it was better for me to move on and go somewhere else where I can grow and meet new people. Um, and now I'm down in beautiful Boca Raton, and I decided to come down here too, not only for the basketball, but for my career also. Um, I might look to move down here and stay here. And I think growing connections is a really big thing. But yeah, a big thing for coming down here was just meeting new people and connecting because, life is about connections. So I'm trying to get a job down here in marketing or sales or real estate, whatever I'm going to get into. I think that was really important for me. Um, I think at St. Francis, I already know everybody. I know all the teachers, the staff. I'm not really going to meet any new people, and I'm in a very rural area. Obviously, the weather is, it's 85 degrees outside, which is another nice thing from coming from 3,000 feet in the mountains. But yeah, it was really just, to take a year in a more populated area with, some sunlight and move forward in my career and building connections with new people.
I guess with that being said, what is a short-term goal from you, not from a basketball standpoint, because I think everyone's short-term and long-term goals is to produce well and win after college. Like what got, I guess, with that goal, like you kind of said, like get into marketing, sales, or real estate. What kind of prompted that inspiration? Because a lot of basketball players I talk to, it's like go into finance or business, and real estate's a huge market now, especially for people around our age who you know, it's a huge market now, and same thing with marketing and sales. What kind of got you interested in that at St. Francis, or was it in high school even that got you interested in that? And, you know, why do you think, you know, hopefully being down in Florida is a good place to be for that?
Well, my mom's been in real estate for about 10 years. Um, so I'm eventually going to get my license in the next couple months. And she knows a lot. She does really well on it. And I think being in Boca and being down in South Florida is it's a very hot spot. People are always moving, coming, going, but more people are coming here. Very crowded. Um, and I got my bachelor's in marketing, and I am getting my master's in marketing. So I don't know if that, and I can just go so many different routes with marketing that I thought that was the best thing for me. Like I didn't really think about accounting because that's just accounting, and marketing is a lot of different aspects of what you can do. So yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. The last thing I would say is, you know, this is just kind of the way I like to exit it off, you know, in a sense, is I appreciate you coming on to the pod. For those who don't know, you know, I mean, I played on the year above Jersey Force, but you know, Brad and I we're good friends in high school, and you know, I reached back out to him just because, you know, he had obviously a cool career to kind of talk about, and you know, it's in different aspects. So I want to say thank you so much for coming on the podcast, sharing some of your story with the viewers today. And, you know, obviously best of luck at Lynn. You know, I know you're going to do good things down there, and obviously for your career afterwards, you know, hope to see you do big things down in Florida, hopefully, and, you know, keep up the good work.
Really appreciate it, Mike. Thank you for having me.